Afghanistan has been called many things: a battlefield, a graveyard of empires, a failed state. But none of those labels explain the truth. Because Afghanistan is not a country that was constantly invaded. It is a country that has constantly resisted. For over 2,000 years, the world's greatest powers have arrived convinced they could control it. And every single one of them left believing the same thing: this place cannot be owned. Long before modern borders, before Afghanistan even had a name, this land was already important. It sat at the center of ancient trade routes, between East and West, between empires and civilizations. Merchants passed through, armies passed through, ideas passed through. But one thing rarely stayed: control. Alexander the Great tried. So did the Persians. So did the Mongols. Each empire learned the same lesson: Afghanistan does not collapse under pressure. It absorbs it, then waits. By the 1800s, Britain ruled nearly a quarter of the world. India was the crown jewel, and Afghanistan stood between Britain and its rivals. British leaders believed Afghanistan could be managed like any other territory. They were wrong. The First Anglo-Afghan War began with confidence. British troops marched in, installed a friendly ruler, and declared success. But they misunderstood something fundamental. Afghanistan was never unified under one authority. Loyalty was local, tribal, and fiercely independent. When resistance came, it came quietly. Supply lines were cut. Alliances collapsed. The population turned hostile. By the time the British realized what was happening, it was already too late. Out of 16,000 people retreating from Kabul, only one survived. That moment echoed through history. But the world would forget the lesson. In the 20th century, Afghanistan became a chessboard. Not because it was weak, but because it was strategically located. The Soviet Union believed it could stabilize Afghanistan with ideology, military power, and infrastructure. In 1979, Soviet tanks rolled in. At first, it looked familiar. Cities held, government installed. But Afghanistan does not fight wars the way empires expect. The battlefield wasn't cities. It was mountains, villages, time itself. The conflict dragged on for nearly a decade. Costs rose. Morale collapsed. The Soviet Union withdrew. Many historians would later argue, Afghanistan didn't just defeat the Soviets, it accelerated the fall of an empire. When foreign powers leave Afghanistan, they rarely leave stability behind. Power vacuums form, local factions compete, old alliances break. By the 90s, Afghanistan was exhausted, and into that exhaustion, a new force emerged. The Taliban didn't rise because they were popular. They rose because they promised order. In a country devastated by decades of war, order, even harsh order, felt preferable to chaos. After the 11th of September 2001, Afghanistan once again became the center of global attention. The United States and its allies arrived with overwhelming military power and a promise to rebuild. And once again, history repeated itself. Military victories came quickly. Political victories did not. Billions were spent. Institutions were built. Elections were held. But legitimacy cannot be imported. Afghanistan's complexity, tribal loyalty, geography, history, resisted simple solutions. And as years passed, the war lost clarity. When foreign forces finally withdrew, the collapse was faster than anyone expected. Not because Afghanistan was weak, but because the system built around it was fragile. The Taliban returned, not as a new force, but as a patient one. The world watched in shock. But for Afghans, this wasn't a sudden ending. It was the continuation of a long pattern. Afghanistan is not cursed. It is not doomed. It is simply a place where external control has never worked. The lesson is uncomfortable. You cannot remake a country without understanding its past. And Afghanistan remembers everything. If you appreciate calm, honest history that looks beyond headlines, subscribe to When History Turned. We tell the stories of the moments that quietly shaped the world. Because history didn't just happen, it turned.